Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, and in today's video I'll assist you how to speak English or any other language that you learn without being afraid and with confidence. So, my name is Artem and I've been learning English for already 18 months, so 1 year and 2 months. And a lot of people are afraid of speaking English or any other language just not because they are bad at this, but because they don't know some tips or they don't have some psychology, some attitude towards it. And I'll break this video down into several steps in which I'll give you practical tools, techniques, and also some encouraging tips. And they're really important because sometimes we don't need all these numerous techniques, and the only thing we need is one encouraging warm word, right? So let's begin. So step number one, and first of all, this is a very important step because if you figure it out, everything will be much more easier for you to do in the future. You gotta decide your main English subject, and by saying this, I mean, what would you like to speak about in English most of the times? What are you interested in? For example, you are a gardener or you're selling cars. You're talking about cars most of the time. So you're talking about transportation, supplies, commission, other things. This main subject, whether it's your hobby, job, passion, whatever it is directly connected to your personality, your character, what you're doing the most, during your day. For example, I'm a history teacher in the school and I'm preaching some lectures every single day in front of a lot of students. Of course, I'm gonna talk about this most of the times in my mother tongue, so literally, this subject dominates all your mental space during your day. And the foreign language that I learn is no different. You also expose some words related to your main subject, to your hobby, because this is also the law of life. When you focus deeply on something one, you mainly do this thing, and everything else extends out from this main thing, like the roots from the stump. So you have this main topic, and you have similar to these topics additional topics. So, for example, I'm learning psychology, and for sure, I can be interested in science additionally, in biology, in philosophy. This way, you're building a strong, unshakable foundation based on real connection. I think it's very understandable. So, step number two, and this is the fear of criticism. When you open your mouth and start speaking something, generally we have this kind of question: what if I'm speaking imperfectly? What if others are judging me? What if I look like an idiot in this time? I know about this problem, even though I've never experienced that myself because I was always experimenting with English, with my language, and simply expressing my thoughts as much as I could. I perfectly understand your concern, my friend, and this is my solution that I would recommend to you. So, at first, you gotta just comprehend it that speaking a new language, a foreign language, is a very time and effort consuming action, not just for your physical body, but also for your mental capacity. It's a very difficult process. It is not just you snap your finger and it's done. No, this is the process that you're going through. You gotta be proud of yourself that you're just going through this and succeeding, making the progress. Because you see, a lot of people they just wanna speak perfectly, saying perfect sentences. There is no such a thing as perfectionism when we learn a foreign language. Even native speakers they make mistakes, and as an English learner or any other language learner, you are gonna make a lot of mistakes during the process, especially in the very beginning, and it's normal. Our goal is not to deliver a perfect speech, a professor's speech, like in front of our friends or acquaintances. No, we're not performing here. We're studying here. And our goal here is just to be understandable enough to communicate, to express your ideas clearly. This desire of yours to deliver a perfect speech is commendable. Just communicate. Make mistakes. Make it messy at first. There is a very honest saying that everybody makes mistakes in whatever they do except people who do not do anything. Mistakes are an inevitable part of the process that you cannot escape and avoid, and the more mistakes you make, in reality, the more you progress. I know you may say, but what if anybody is judging me? Or if a person, for example, is giving you a constructive criticism and not criticizing you really, but trying to help you, you gotta accept this fact. In order to be good at something, you gotta be bad at something at first. A little bit crap. It'll be messed up at first. And it's inevitable, it's good that we're all just beginners, noobs. Then we elevate, level up. So this approach is based on real confidence and real constructive criticism towards yourself. It is not about humiliating yourself. It's more about telling yourself frankly, honestly, how good I am at something. And then you evaluate the issue and you improve, improve, and improve. Okay, step number three, and I would call this step as formality informality. It really can save you a lot of time. So let me clarify the point because a lot of learners they literally divide vocabulary into formal and informal. For example, an English learner may assume that like some certain particular specific word cannot be used in informal context or on the contrary informal context. A person may endlessly choose what kind of word to put in the sentence, whether it's normal, whether it's like appropriate, whether it's affordable here. They literally get enslaved by this misconception and get imprisoned in this imaginary trap. He forgets about natural production, how to put words in the sentences like organically. It slows down your mind and blocks your natural reproduction of words, and it makes just it so difficult to start speaking because your mind is not even phrasing. You are endlessly choosing what to choose, what kind of word to choose. So I want to debunk this myth that there are some certain formal and informal words, expressions, or structures in English, some grammar. No, forget about all this BS. I'm truly so pissed off about all the teachers on the internet nowadays who are teaching like that. Instead of boring, say the word tedious. Instead of I love, say I'm crazy about that. Oh my god. Instead of funny, say hilarious. You're gonna sound more advanced, or on the contrary, more informal, chilly, relaxed. But it has nothing to do with the reality of speaking, okay? Because native speakers, they never divide words into formal or informal. For sure, we have some cursing words or slangy words that you would not say, for example, as a president of the United States on the stage, or you would not write them on the essay. But when it comes to this crazy insane point, and when people start attributing some normal, average, ordinary words to some imaginary, unrealistic groups, like that becomes really crazy because it takes them a long time, a real mental effort, and just eternity to kind of figure out what kind of word I put in the sentence here during this formal conversation. So this way they're literally trying to manage just this impossible humongous factory, this eternal, tedious, long process in their heads, and they spend a lot of their mental energy on this. But the real situation is simple, and let me elaborate my point. Every single word, whether it's funny or hilarious, whether it's weird or bizarre, all these words that are divided into groups and label them as formal and informal have their own shades. They have their own special background. They imply their own emotion. So there is no such a thing as formality. There's only the context. So it just depends on the context and on the situation. Like let's imagine a situation. Something strange happened to me in my life, but it wasn't really super strange. So I may just say it's strange. But for example, something really strange happened to me. Something so unrealistic and crazy. I may say, oh my god, this is bizarre. Or let's imagine I say something is surprising. Okay, it's just surprising. But if it's very surprising, I might say, oh my god, it's so astounding. Simply because the word surprising will not fully carry out this emotion that I feel at the moment. It will not fully express what I feel right now or what I want to say, what I think about this. So, as you can see, this variety of the words, it is not made to express the same word. It's made to express more emotions, more shades of emotions, all the spectrum of feelings, your thoughts, your visualizations. It is more about your creativity, being a human. The more vocabulary and words you learn, the more emotionally intelligent you become, and the wider range of emotions you can express. The step number 4, and it's really a very important step because a lot of learners, they simply freak out when they start speaking all because of their accent, their pronunciation. You see, when I just started learning English, I talk like this. Hello everybody, my name is Artyom and I'm 22 years old. This is a very important point. So, as you can see, this is a very strong Russian accent that I had in the very beginning of my learning English journey. And I improved it. I worked a lot on this, and kind of it happened even naturally, I would say. However, during the process, at some times, I was obsessed with getting an American accent. But it's not the point. Then I just understood what I truly need to do is just to sound understandable. People should understand what I'm talking about, whether my accent is Russian, American, British, Indian. Also, once again, let's just forget about this idea of accents and what is wrong, what is right, what is beautiful, and what is horrible. Because even American accent has a lot of types of this American accent. But the real main point here is that every single time when you open your mouth and start speaking, you open your mouth authentically. Only as you can do like that, and only you. Your final destination is just to be understandable and sound like you can communicate and speak well. In the future, I'll make another video on how to improve your pronunciation and how to sound understandable because you've heard what I started with. They drink water because they very cool. So a lot of people who are worried about their accents, like they're creating problems and these problems are of their own making. Okay, and the last tip number 5 is the tip on how to improve your fluency, how to become fluent in English. Something that I'm like currently studying. At first, let's talk about what fluency is. Let's forget about this idea. If I want to be fluent in English, for example, I need to know every single word that exists in English. No, this is an impossible task and you're gonna spend all your life on learning all the words, but you won't be even so close to get this result. I'm a native Russian speaker, and in my native language, I also do know a lot of words when it comes to some really rare words that we meet so rarely. Okay, let's stop talking about this abstract fluency and get down to the real fluency and how it looks like in the real world. If you want to be fluent in English, learn more practical words. For example, what is that? This is the vase. What is that? This is the artificial tree. Or, like, for example, I'm washing the dishes. I'm putting my rubbish out. Like, as far as I'm concerned, let's say yesterday I learned a lot of new words. Crowbar, a digging bar, a sandpaper, axe, handsaw, lumber, rebar, tree stump, steel bars, squidges, tack up, quads, notch. A lot of words that I really learned just yesterday just to express my ideas. For example, in the near future, I'm supposed to go to my mom's dacha and help her remove the tree stump from the ground. So I also need to prepare to set up some raised garden beds. And then let's say I'm driving the nail into the wood and sanding the lumber down to make it softer and nice to touch. Because if I don't do this, I can easily get a splinter into my finger and it'll be very painful. So, and how I'm removing this tree stump from the ground. At first, I'm digging around the stump, forming this kind of foundation of the pit. Several inches below the grade, and then when the pit is made, so then I try to cut out the trees that are extending out from the main stump. So then what I do next. So and then I'm just trying to pry it out from the ground, and I'm using my digging bar to do this. Let's say, for example, another construction, practical construction. I'm sitting in the bathroom and the steam is billowing around me due to the heat of the temperature that is making it going up and leaving the moisture on the mirror. Or a very easy example, I'm planting the seed into the soil and in several months the seed will germinate, then the flower will bloom and I'll get a result. I'm buttoning up my t-shirt, I'm zipping up my fly. I'm catching a bus. I'm getting off the bus. I'm lathering up my hands with some soap. I got sad and the tears started streaming down from my eyes. So, as you can see, when you can describe every single idea in your foreign language, you can consider yourself as a fluent speaker. So if you want to be fluent, make sure that you can say something more than just, hello, I'm Artem, I'm working as a dentist, and I really love eating meat. So just very obvious and simple, but a lot of learners, including me, overlook this moment. But it's a very big step towards fluency.